Just do what she says. She's loco, crazy.
Early on in the final mission, a tank spawns in to ambush you, blocking your path. You do get a rocket launcher to deal with it, but you can actually dodge around it, using the containers for cover and just keep going. If you do skip past it, and later decide to come back, the tank won't be there anymore. For some reason, if you move far enough away from this tank, it just clips through the ground and falls off the map, silently sinking into the void beneath the level. Forever.
Did you know that if you shoot at a shallow angle, many surfaces in Project IGI actually ricochet bullets? Okay, maybe you knew that one. But here's something you probably didn't notice. The bullet marks on surfaces behave weirdly. See, there's a limit on how many bullet marks can exist at one time. That makes total sense. But instead of having one global cap for the entire level, every single object has its own separate bullet mark limit. Let me show you what I mean. Let's shoot all around this area. Mark up a few different objects. Now watch. Let's keep shooting at this wall. As we keep firing, the older bullet marks on this wall start disappearing. But look, the marks on those other containers? Still there, completely untouched. Every object is tracking its own bullet marks independently. It's such a weird system, and honestly, I have no idea why they did it this way.
A lot of people, including myself, used to think that Project IGI's map just goes on forever, infinitely generated. But it doesn't. If you keep walking in one direction long enough, the map eventually ends. The textures just stop rendering. There's this abrupt cutoff, but the ground is still solid. You can still walk on it. If you keep going, things start getting weirder and weirder. I did some rough calculations, and the total map area is around 300,000 square kilometers. That is absolutely massive. But here's the thing I didn't expect. Every single mission in Project IGI uses the exact same base terrain. The game loads this one enormous terrain and places the level's buildings, roads, and structures on top of it.
What's even crazier? Even the snow missions use the same base terrain, just with a different texture applied over it. Before a level is placed, the terrain in that area gets flattened or molded into the right shape to fit the buildings and roads. And this opens up some wild discoveries. Does this place look familiar? That's right. This is the exact terrain where Radar Base takes place, but I'm seeing it from inside Eagle Nest 1. Oh, and speaking of Eagle Nest 1, did you know that Eagle Nest 1 and the God mission take place in the literal same spot on the base terrain? The compound in the God level sits in the exact same position as the second compound in Eagle Nest 1. And here's another one. You know that massive flat area surrounding the nuclear infiltration mission? Ever wonder why there's so much unused space? That entire mission uses the exact same molded terrain as border crossing. Look at these hills. They're the same snowy hills from border crossing, just with a dusty texture. Anyway, I went ahead and mapped the coordinates of every single level. They're all clustered pretty close to the center of the map, with Eagle Nest 2 being the closest. Now let me show you just how far the map border actually is by zooming out . Absolutely massive, right? And for reference, here's Minecraft's map for comparison. Honestly, I spent hours just roaming around this massive terrain. Something about an empty world that big just pulls you in, even when there's nothing there. And I did find more stuff out there, but I don't know if everyone finds this kind of thing as fascinating as I do. If you want me to make a dedicated deep dive on the map terrain and locations of all the levels, drop a comment. Here's a quick one. The very first mission starts with you jumping off a moving train. The train keeps rolling and disappears into a tunnel shortly after. In the cutscene, it clearly has a locomotive. But in the actual game, the locomotive is just not there. The train cars are all there, rolling along, but nothing is pulling them. In Border Crossing, if you manage to conserve the Law 80 rocket launcher, you can actually use it on the mission truck. And guess what? The truck blows up. Mission failed. The game actually lets you destroy the truck in this mission, but in the very next level, that same truck is completely indestructible.
Now, let's talk about some of the weird things I found hiding out of bounds across different levels. In Eagle Nest 1, right below the house where you pick up the sniper rifle for Objective 1, there's another sniper rifle floating underneath the map. If you go close enough, the game actually lets you pick it up, and the pickup sound is different from normal. And you neither get the sniper nor the ammo. And I found similar anomalies on other levels too. On level 3, right near the spawn point, if you go underground, out of bounds, there's a box and an interactable button just sitting there. You can actually press the button, but nothing happens. On Border Crossing, after the last compound, if you open that gate and keep going, then clip down under the road, you'll find barrels. Barrels that explode when you shoot them.
4 of them in total. 3 are fairly close together, but there's a 4th one closer to the compound. This level might have even more hidden down there. One of them even has a bigger explosion than the others. When they explode, their appearance doesn't change. Normally, exploded barrels switch to a destroyed model, not these ones. And on level 1, underground and out of bounds, there are these arrow markers pointing at something. I have no idea what they're pointing at. I found another one on the nuclear infiltration level too. Which brings us nicely to our next topic. Can you complete the nuclear infiltration mission without ever actually entering the base? Well, let's find out. Instead of going through the entrance, let's go all the way around the perimeter. Since the compound uses fences instead of solid walls, you can shoot right through them from the outside. And the game gives us plenty of Dragunov ammo at the start, plus an M16. It's actually pretty easy to get into position, just takes a while. And taking out everyone outside is trivial. But there's one guy, one stubborn enemy sitting inside a building. This guy never moves, and even though there's a window, we can't get a clear line of sight on him. I spent ages shooting at that window. He never shows himself, never shifts position. Then I remembered. The M16A4 has a grenade launcher attachment. If we can land a grenade right outside the room he's in, the splash damage radius should reach him through the wall. But the problem is that there is no high ground nearby to make this easy. The grenade launcher is blast on impact, not on a timer, but it does follow the laws of gravity. So in theory, if we angle it just right, the grenade should arc up and come back down right where we need it. We only get 2 grenades though, so there's not much room for error. But with a bit of practice, I actually got him on my 4th try, so it's definitely doable. Now, if you allow yourself to just step into the first compound area, there are some grenade pickups in the warehouse. Bring those over, and it becomes a simple toss over the fence. Easy. So to answer the question, yes, you can complete nuclear infiltration without ever officially entering the base.
On the final mission, throughout the level, you catch glimpses of Ek, taunting, teasing, edging you, and then running away before you can do anything. But here's the thing, it is completely impossible to kill her before the final encounter. And I don't just mean it's hard, I tested it. You literally cannot damage her, so save your bullets. The Ek you fight in the final room is actually a completely different in-game entity, so even if you somehow managed to kill the running version of her, she would still spawn in the final room with full health. But I had to try anyway. I used cheats to line her entire path with proximity mines. She tanked over a dozen of them and kept running like nothing happened.
I couldn't verify her exact health pool,
But given how she doesn't even react to the bullets fired at her, she might not even have the code to register damage. Here's one last thing that blew my mind. There's actually a limit on how many enemies can be actively shooting at you at the same time. And it depends on what guns they're using. For automatic weapons like AKs, only 3 enemies can fire at you simultaneously. For slower firing weapons like the SPAS 12 shotgun, the limit goes up to 4. You can even get a mix, 3 AKs and 1 SPAS all firing at once. Any enemies beyond that limit, they'll take up positions, look ready to fight, and just stand there. They can still melee attack you and throw grenades, but they will not shoot.
They're essentially waiting in line. The moment one of the active shooters stops firing or gets killed, the next one in the queue immediately starts shooting. Alright, I said that was the last one, but I have a bonus for you. I actually found this one while recording footage for this video. On the Get Preboy mission, there's this one barrack that's completely empty. But when the alarm is raised, enemies just start pouring out of it, out of nowhere. And if you've played this mission, you've probably heard what everyone says, that enemies keep spawning there infinitely, just an endless wave that never stops. Well, they do stop. I stood at the door and kept shooting, and shooting, and shooting. Eventually, no more enemies came out. The spawning just ends. And what you're left with is AKs, lots of them, piled up on the floor. So yeah, not infinite, just a lot. And that's it for this one. If you enjoyed these deep dives into Project IGI's weirdest secrets, make sure to like and subscribe. I've got a lot more of these coming. See you in the next one.